All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Generative AI Meetup Podcast. So I think we missed it last week, but don't worry. We're back this week, better and stronger than ever. The reason we weren't around last week is because we were doing what we do best. We ran a meetup. It was a fantastic event. I think we had about what do you think we had, Shashank? Maybe about 100 people that showed up.
More than 100.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So we did a little event on AI agents. We had people from all over the world come to the event, which was quite cool. And it was in one of the most historic buildings in Silicon Valley. So it was in the building where they had, I think it was Fairchild Semiconductor, which was one of the very first companies that kind of started Silicon Valley. I think it was the first company that made the integrated circuit, which is, kind of important, you would think, the integrated circuit.
I think it was the first commercially available integrated circuit developed at Fairchild Semiconductor.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Yeah. So we were in that building. So thank you so much to Apex AI for opening up their office space to us. Shout out to Apex AI, not sponsored, but they helped us out. So we'll give them a little shout out on the podcast.
Gracious hosts,
wonderful hosts. So they are doing some self-driving car stuff, and they're working with a lot of the big name auto brands. So I think that you may not know them, but if you're going to be driving some cars, I think they were working with like Volkswagen and whatnot. Yeah. So I think that we will see you will probably see the brains of Apex AI real soon. So that's kind of cool. So anyways, for those that don't know us, I'm Mark, and with my co-host Shashank, we run meetups in the Bay Area, and we talk to a lot of really interesting and cool people every single week about generative AI, and we just want to kind of share with you some of the ideas and topics that we discuss every week. So, Shashank, what's in the news this week?
There's been a lot of different stuff in the news. No big announcements. I think the biggest thing has been Facebook's Llama 3.1 model. I think they announced it last week, but we weren't here. So maybe we can touch upon that a little bit. But to give people a high-level overview, I think a lot of these models are converging towards the GPT-4o's performance level. Everything from Gemini to Claude, Llama 3. It seems like we're reaching a plateau in these models' capabilities, and they're all reaching multimodal. They can understand video. They can understand text. I don't know about audio. Maybe audio.
I think GPT-4o can understand audio.
And definitely text across a variety of domains like mathematics, common sense reasoning, medicine, legal, etc. So it seems like OpenAI doesn't have a stronghold on this market anymore. And I love that Facebook is open sourcing this whole thing too. Do you know if they've open sourced the biggest model? What is it for?
The 405B one?
Yeah.
I think so. I think they have. I'm pretty sure that you can just run it on your own hardware.
Oh, that's crazy.
Although I don't know who has hardware that could run that. I mean, like, I don't have like a couple H100s lying around.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're a startup.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, if you're a startup, you might be able to have one, I guess, but it's a lot of money. And I also wonder, like, if you really need something that big, because it's like, do you really need that high quality of a model for the majority of your tasks?
Probably not for the majority of tasks, but for a few key things, I think it's always better to have the best model. I mean, when I go and try to find a model to use, I'm just picking the best GPT-4o model. I'm not trying to pull the local sub 10 billion parameter model.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think that in general, like, if you can, you might as well run the best. But I think that, like, it's not always better to run the largest model, right?
Sure. So the trade-offs are cost, time, infrastructure to host this kind of model,
Right.
memory, CPU, GPU resources. But I do think that these biggest models are only available to the largest of companies with like the $10+ billion valuation, and Meta, Google, Amazon, etc. But now that these big models are being open sourced, I think the smaller YC companies, maybe not the early stage, but Series A, B, they can try to take these open source models and build cool applications out of it. Maybe focus on a specific domain, legal, medicine, etc.
That's true. That's true. Although I would think that if you're going to focus on a specific domain, you could probably start training or like fine tuning some of these smaller ones, like maybe like the Llama 70B or even 8B in a lot of cases is, I think, probably good enough depending on like your use case. I mean, sure, like if you want like the latest and greatest, if you have like some sort of really complicated use case, I think like, yeah, use the best, use like the Llama 405B or use GPT-4 or the Anthropic's, what is it, the Claude 3.5 or is it the Claude Sonnet 3.5? Like, use the best one. But I think like, those models, as you mentioned, they're expensive. They require a lot of energy and hardware to run. And I think that like oftentimes you can get like a good enough response with something, far cheaper. And also you have to, if you have like one of the smaller models, you don't have to deal with any latency because you could even potentially run it like on the edge or like on someone's device as well. So like, it's like there's also the privacy aspect of it. So I think like at this point, like it's really about like the trade-offs because I mean, it's really, I think some of these smaller ones are just good enough for like a lot of use cases really. Because I mean, like, I don't know, if you're going to like be doing something like, for example, like maybe like content moderation, I think it could be like a use case, right? So like if I'm like monitoring like my chat room, right? If I want to look for, let's say, hate speech, you can say like, hey, like, is this hate speech or not hate speech? Or like, some inflammatory content. You could just have, I think, a smaller model be able to identify that just fine. I don't need like, a Lamborghini if I'm just like going back and forth to the supermarket,
You don't want to take a shotgun to try to remove the pests in your house.
Right. I mean, like it works, but it's just a little much, right?
Little overkill.
Yeah.
I can see very specific use cases, let's say customer service or something, where you just want an FAQ bot that gets people's order numbers or answers questions about their shipping time for a drop shipping Shopify marketplace. Then you don't really need a Sonnet or a GPT-4o for those kinds of tasks.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like, if I'm just like playing around, I want to use the latest and greatest and know like what's possible. But I think like once you like kind of niche down onto your particular task, I mean, like the smaller one's fine. I mean, I think that most of the cases, it's just completely fine.
For the startup ecosystem at large, this is still fantastic news.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned that that's kind of, I think, Mark Zuckerberg's part of his strategy. He wants people to start using Llama just for all the things.
That's right. He was talking about this again yesterday or a couple days ago. He was at NVIDIA's SIGGRAPH conference, and he was sitting with Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, and talking about some of their high-level strategies for tackling this problem. And they were talking about how access to GPUs has always been a problem, and Zuck was giving Jensen a little bit of hard time for not delivering GPUs on time, being supply constrained, and then talking about how open sourcing has worked really well for NVIDIA in the past, how a lot of NVIDIA, or for one of them, how they open sourced some of the networking switches, and that became an industry standard and started being used by everyone else. And then they were able to take all the improvements that the open source communities made to these networking switches and then incorporate it back into their architecture. So they're planning to do something similar with Llama as more and more people find bugs and vulnerabilities in Llama as they start using it themselves and make improvements. They are able to, absorb these improvements from the open source community and then make the next version of Llama bigger, better, faster, more secure.
That's true. It really feels like some sort of virtuous flywheel for like Facebook, where they're going to create new, bigger models.
Yep.
Everybody's going to go. So I think I remember seeing like the day after Llama 3.1 was launched, I saw like a couple hackathons just being posted like, oh, emergency hackathon. We need to like build stuff on top of this Llama 3.1. It's exciting. And now like if people start building stuff off on Llama 3.1, then like people are going to, kind of just be more used to like the Facebook stack. And then they're going to become like the standard. Everyone's going to build on top of it. And then Facebook is going to get a bunch of stuff for free. They're going to get the majority of the mind share of the developers using it. And also like people are going to use them because they can run it like on-prem. So Facebook is going to get a bunch of free development work. They're like, and then like, I mean, Facebook isn't necessarily making money off these LLMs. They're making money off of like showing ads. So like if people build a bunch of cool stuff, then Facebook could probably show better ads to their users and then, make more money, Facebook stock to the moon.
Yeah. And to make a small distinction, they're not open sourcing the product. They're open sourcing the underlying technology behind the product. So the product that they've integrated into WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and a bunch of other products is using Llama 3 and lots of other RAG type filters to pull context from their social networks and your personal chat history, etc. So they're adding a lot of things on top of Llama 3 that they're going to keep closed source and maintain their competitive advantage. Otherwise, like if they give everything out for free, that'll kind of make them lose their advantage.
For sure. But, it really feels to me like it's becoming a race to the bottom, and nobody is going to be making money by selling these LLMs.
Except NVIDIA.
Well, I mean, they're not selling LLMs.
They are.
They're selling LLM?
They provide a couple foundation models. I don't know how competitive they are.
Oh.
How good they are, but everyone is selling, foundation models.
But, like, they're actually selling the foundation model, or are they giving it away for free?
They might be giving it away for free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, the thing is if you think about it, there's actually very few companies right now that are making money, like, directly from LLM, like, LLM as the product. I mean, the only ones that I can think of are Anthropic and ChatGPT.
Google.
Oh, Google. Right. True.
Pi, Character AI.
But isn't Pi...
Amazon has one for, enterprise.
Yeah, but like, I think
Meta AI, you can pay for it. XAI, you can pay for it. Actually, Meta, you can't pay for it. Meta is free.
Yeah.
XAI, you can start paying for it.
Oh. Whoa.
Okay.
Anyways.
I forget what that was.
All right. Yeah, let's just ignore that. So I guess you're right. I guess there's like a few, but I don't know. Like it seems to me that like all these companies are going to have a harder and harder time justifying like $10 a month or $20 a month or whatever it is. 'Cause, yeah, you're right. I think Google has like the Gemini Advance. ChatGPT has their GPT-4 for sale. Pi, is that free? Oh, that was free.
It is free, but I do think they have a paid version too.
Okay. So anyways, like the fact that a lot of these are going to be open source, and people can just run on their own. I think the only reason why people may pay is just because they don't want to have to host the model themselves and they want to use the latest and greatest. But the fact that a lot of these smaller models are kind of good enough, as I mentioned before, right? Like a lot of people won't feel the need to pay like Facebook to run it. Because if they have like a specific use case that they want to use the model for, they might just run it on their own hardware.
Well, that's why these companies need to do better and better with every release to make it worth paying the subscription fee. Otherwise, people are just going to turn to these cheaper models. So OpenAI definitely keeps pushing the frontier. They released Search GPT. Should we talk about that?
We can. I'm on the wait list now.
Yeah. So this is supposed to be the competitor to Google search, and especially the Gemini summaries that you see at the top of Google search, if you have that enabled, or Perplexity, which was dubbed the Google killer, which uses these LLMs. It's actually LLM agnostic. They use whatever LLM that you want. You can be from Anthropic, ChatGPT, Google, and they use these LLMs to search the web, filter the results, and summarize these search results in multiple steps if it needs to. So It's cool that ChatGPT is doing this finally. I feel like it was about time because search has been like the first place that people go to for a long time, and to integrate that with your LLM, that's fantastic. It is a little interesting that Bing has been funding OpenAI for a long time, and they wanted to try to take over the search market with ChatGPT, but now if ChatGPT has search built in, are people really going to go to Bing? I don't know.
Yeah, and I also wonder if this is going to hurt Google, because if people,
the Google stock did go down after that announcement, like 5% or something.
The thing is, if people start just getting the answer from ChatGPT, and they go to that over Google, I mean, Google doesn't, in my opinion, have like a super big moat. I mean, they have a big moat, but like, it's not that big.
Well, the people who work on Google search are some of the smartest people that I know, and we have the most technologically advanced stack to do any kind of search. The latency that we have is insane. I don't think ChatGPT can match like anywhere close to the latency that we get for both the Google search and the Gemini results on top. It's blazing fast.
That's true. It is very fast. But like, I don't know. I think the thing is, at least for me, I feel like a lot of times, like my Google search results aren't like exactly what I want. Something I have to like click through a lot of links. I think there's a lot of like SEO content. Mm-hmm. I actually personally don't use Google search anymore.
You are one of the few outliers, though.
Yeah.
We just need to make that clear.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. I am an outlier. I don't use Google search at all. I use a different search engine called Kagi. So Kagi, like Kagi, it's a paid search engine. I paid $10 a month for it. It's
not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Like I pay them money. If they want to give me money to talk about them, that'd be fantastic. Although they're a pretty small company. I think, I personally prefer the results over Google a little bit. But maybe I'm biased. So, and actually Kagi has like a similar instant answer like Google search as well. So, it's got all the same things that Google.
Well, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're probably using a smaller model because to get that kind of latency on a bigger model would be kind of hard.
Yeah, but I feel
unless you're paying for it, maybe that subscription fee goes towards data centers.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. But I do feel like sometimes Google's a little bit slow for the instant answers. So like
it does buffer. It doesn't render immediately.
Yeah. So like for example, I was looking. So I'm an Android developer, my full time job, and I was looking through the Android developer documentation. I wanted to look up some, how to do some things, and I saw that like Google started adding instant answers to their Android developer documentation, and it was too slow to be useful. And also like it gave me the exact same result as what they just had like lower in the page, so it didn't really help.
That's helpful.
I mean, I guess so I don't have to scroll down the page
or sift through all that content,
which is fine. But I also use like Command F and like find it immediately, and then get like the actual documentation and not like some summary of it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, like I think like the concept is cool, but I haven't found it like super useful yet in my workflow. Mm. Yeah, I don't know, but I do think that the search, what do they call it? Search GPT? Or I forget.
Search GPT.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting that there's more competition out there. So I welcome the competition, and I know like I think Google's like still the top dog, but there I think still is like room for somebody else to come in and
definitely
disrupt them.
Definitely, this is a new world, and I've been waiting for OpenAI to do this for a while. I'm glad they finally did it, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. So let's see what else is in the news. You mentioned that. Actually, here's something small, but pretty interesting. Stability AI, they introduced a new thing called Stable Fast 3D.
Oh.
Kind of cool. So what it is you can give it an image, and it will generate a 3D model, and it'll do it really fast. So I think you could probably use it. I would imagine like the main thing would be like maybe video games. So like you could take an image of like, I don't know, like a couch or like a cup or whatever, and then it'll go in and then like make a 3D model of that thing. So where you used to have to, pay some sort of like graphic designer, or I don't know what you call like a 3D artist. I don't know what like the name of that is.
Digital artists.
Digital artists, sure. So anyways, you had to pay one of those people to, spend all day making your different 3D models for the video game. Now you could just like potentially, I mean, honestly, you could probably do like a whole end-to-end thing where maybe you have like an AI model. So I could say like, hey, ChatGPT, create me a picture of I don't know, like a car. And then I could feed that car into this model. And then now I have like a cool new car for my video game. So I think that we're going to start seeing like really good video games in the near future.
That is really cool. I'm looking at their website for some more information, and it's really cool how they take the image and construct a 3D object with information about what is behind the object. Because oftentimes we get a lot of artifacts and like missing depth and things like that. But I think it has enough understanding of what different kinds of common objects are, like a teddy bear, or a sandwich, or a couch, where it can fill in the back in like a reasonable way. And they should also show a video for like 4D outputs, which is like a 3D model with some kind of animation, mostly for characters. So if it's like a dolphin, it'll be like flipping its tail, or if it's like a camel, it'll be walking, moving its limbs and head, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, and also it seems like it's open weight.
That is surprising because Stability has been going through a lot of turnover in their leadership. I think Imad, their founder, CEO, left, and they've been trying to figure out how to convert from this whole open, free, everything approach to trying to make money and staying afloat, because it's very expensive to build and train all these models. They've gone from image, which they started with, to language, which they added on later, to video, now 3D. That must be very, very expensive.
Yeah, like I'm really curious, like how a lot of these companies are gonna stay in business.
Well, Stability was just bankrolled by this one guy who made a huge fortune, and he's just like, you know what, I want to give this to the world to kickstart the new generation of hackers and independent developers, to give them, democratize this technology and not keep it in the hands of OpenAI.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Or Midjourney, which is the only competitive image generation tool at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like great for the world. I fully support it. The only thing is like, I wonder if that's sustainable, because I mean,
Clearly it's not.
Yeah,
not for them.
Because the thing is like, it seems like right now the only way you can get these high quality models is by just throwing more compute at the problem, like more energy, more GPUs, more data, just more, and it seems like to scale, and without any kind of like algorithmic advancements, it's just going to be only like the biggest companies in the world that are going to be able to train these models. And I think it's even getting really expensive for the biggest companies. I mean, think about like the biggest companies right now. I mean, like, what's number one? I think is like it kind of shifts all the time. Like Apple is up there,
Nvidia
is close. Yeah,
actually not this week. They've taken quite a hit.
Like Google's up there, Amazon, whatever, like all these big companies.
If we're talking about individuals, I think Elon's up there too. If you're talking about like entities who have a lot of money to throw at a problem.
Yeah.
So his new XAI venture, which is trying to, come up with a new LLM and a multimodal probably model. He is trying to build a data center in Memphis and get access to close to 150 megawatts of energy. And we were talking about this earlier. For context, I think your average home, maybe like a 3-bedroom home, would be in the low, maybe 10-digit. It's
like 10 kilowatts.
Kilowatts, yeah.
Not tens of kilowatts. 10 to be like a big home, I think.
10 kilowatts.
I think like 2 kilowatts.
That's what I thought. Yeah, 2 would be like a small studio, 1-bedroom or something.
Yeah, and then like 10 to be like a
higher
big
digits.
Yeah.
And so he's raising like 100,000 times or 10,000 times. He's looking for 10,000 times more energy than what a single family home would be using.
Seems big. Do you know any reason why he chose Memphis?
No idea.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with Memphis. Big fan of Memphis, great place. I'm just curious because, like, you know, all of his companies are in like California or Texas, so like Memphis seems interesting.
He had a big gigafactory in Nevada too. I think the way he approaches these problems is goes to the person who can offer the most value, or instead of person, it would be government entity, state. Maybe there's access to cheap energy. Maybe there's big subsidies. For this particular decision, it seems like Tennessee offered ample access to power and the ability to build quickly, maybe removing some of the red tape.
That seems good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter where you build it, because like all that really matters is like, I think the main thing would be like, you want an area, if you're going to build a data center, you probably want it to have like, low rates of natural disaster,
Political stability,
temperature
control, water to cool all these data centers.
Yeah, cheap energy. I don't know, just but it doesn't need to be like in Manhattan or something like that.
Yeah, because you're training these models. You're not making them available. You can make them available in other data centers close to metros.
Right, exactly. And I mean, like Memphis, I mean, that's still like a decently sized metro that is close to a lot of people, so it's good.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people who live in Memphis. It's a good place.
I mean, you want to cover the West Coast and East Coast, though, if you're talking about the U.S.
Well, I mean,
maybe Chicago.
You're just training it. You don't need to make it available. Sure. So, I mean, like, it could be anywhere. I mean, you could do this in Alaska. It doesn't matter.
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
Like, it's fine. Like, I could go
Antarctica too. Doesn't matter.
You could. I mean, just all you need is like a nice little data cable that goes from Antarctica to, like, I don't know, the closest city, like somewhere like in Alaska.
You don't need cables. He's got Starlink. Just beam it all into the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, you could. Oh, actually, I was thinking.
I don't know what the throughput of that would be though.
Good enough. I don't know. I mean, like, the models aren't that big.
A lot of data though.
That's true. That's true.
How'd you get the data to Antarctica?
Just a container ship full of hard drives. You could actually. You should never underestimate the power of like a semi truck just like filled with hard drives, like barreling down the highway.
I'm sure they're using hard drives to back up some of these models.
I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, like, where else are you gonna put it?
Tapes.
But tapes are kind of slow.
They are very slow.
Yeah.
Archival storage.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could, I guess.
They do, yeah.
But, I mean, if I was going to do it, I would just probably use, like, hard drives. I mean, because, like, the models aren't, like... I don't actually know how much data they use. I imagine it's a lot. But I think the thing is, like, I think it's not the data that's necessarily the bottleneck. It's more like the compute. Because, like, you need to, like... process the data like many times and in like lots of different ways. So it's like I think that like probably like honestly just like a few like hard drives, like I don't know, maybe like a petabyte of data. I mean, that's not like how many hard drives do you need for a petabyte of data? Because if you have like petabyte is like 1,000 terabytes, right? So I mean you can get like a 1 terabyte. I think they sell like 10 terabyte drives now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, what do you need? Like 100 of those? I mean, it's not that much space. I mean, we probably fit that in like
that's reasonable.
The back of like, you know, like a standard car. It's not like crazy, right?
Right. Data isn't the bottleneck. It is energy. I don't think Elon's gonna get all this energy immediately. There have been a couple articles about how a lot of companies are facing energy shortages to train these models. It's getting more expensive. And it's like, especially Facebook, the way they have improved the performance for some of their models is just by training it longer. So I think maybe 5 years ago or something, they thought that there was a limit to how good these models can get, and it plateaus, which is kind of true. It does appear to plateau, but it doesn't actually plateau. It just improves much slower the longer you train it. So that's what Facebook has been doing. They've just been continually training it for longer and longer, even though it doesn't improve as much, but it does improve like very minuscule amounts.
So basically you're saying they're just like throwing money at the problem.
They are.
And then just making it like about like as good as you can get it. Just
keep making it better. Keep making it better. Keep throwing more money at it.
Yeah. I feel like, is that sustainable? Like, are we going to start to have like nation states be the only types of people who can like train these models? Like, I mean, at a certain point, it's going to be like none of the big companies are going to be able to afford it. And the only thing you're going to have is like the US government, the Chinese government. That's it.
It's like people are lobbying, should we allocate money to healthcare or training the next model?
Yeah, it might be. I mean, you could like legitimately see that future where it's only like the few largest governments on Earth. Because I mean, the thing is like a lot of these like big mega companies, I think they're being stretched, and there's nobody who has more money than that. I mean, like, what country has more money than like Facebook? It's like there's very few.
Obviously, the one that we're in right now.
Well, I mean, like the United States, sure, like China, Japan, Germany, right? But like, I mean, once you get past like the top 10, I mean, there's not many countries that have like more money than those companies.
Sure, so these companies are massive, yeah.
Right. So I mean, like, these companies are like so rich and valuable that like no one will be able to do it, and then it's just gonna become like a government thing. Like who knows? Like maybe we'll start seeing these models are gonna be like water, where it's like it's just gonna not be like PG&E where you get your water or like your electricity. It'll just be like you're gonna pay like your monthly fee and get your model that's like, you know, regulated by the government. It'll just be like a pseudo government entity, kind of like, honestly, it'll be like the internet almost. Like I feel like the internet is almost like
it's like an equivalent to telecom or railroads or some fundamental infrastructure.
Right. It'll be fundamental infrastructure,
water, electricity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be. It feels like it's going that way.
But I mean, at least in the U.S., a lot of these things are privatized. PG&E is a private.
Yeah, it's like private technically. Yeah,
private-ish.
And I mean, like same with like the telecom companies. Like I mean, like what are the big ones in the U.S.? Like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile.
I think it's consolidated into those two. Yeah,
3, right? T-Mobile as well, but
it's separate.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is like they're not like the government. But like they're highly regulated.
Yeah.
Same with PG&E. Like I know that like technically private company, but it's like highly regulated. Like I mean, the government has essentially like given them monopolies, and like I would not be surprised if even though like OpenAI is like a private company that's like pseudo owned by Microsoft right now, I would not be surprised if they just start being like highly regulated by the government, and it becomes like almost like another arm of the government. Like maybe we'll start seeing like the biggest models being controlled by like, I don't know, like the US military or something.
I could see it being similar to Uber, how they face a lot of regulation. They're still a very private company, but they do have a lot of government oversight. And each country, state that they operate in has its own set of rules and regulations that it has to comply with.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I think the difference with Uber is like there isn't any like fundamental reason why people can't compete with them. Like it's not like they process so much data. I mean, they're like a big network, right? They're like still regulated, but I think that like they're regulated in order of magnitude less than like a utility company.
Sure.
So that's why I would sort of think that like it's a big if, but if these model, like if we don't see like major algorithmic changes, and if these models, you know, let's say like in 5 years from now, it takes like $1 trillion to train them, one of these new models. If it just happens that the only way to make these models better is by just throwing more data at the problem, more energy, more money, the only entities that are going to be able to do it are going to be governments. And then like at that point, maybe let's give it away to like the masses, and like you just pay for it like a utility bill. I don't know. I can see it happen.
Yeah, interesting problem because like now that all these models are being given away for free, how do they make money? Like apart from their main business, ads for Google and ads for Facebook, hey, you need to figure out how to make money from these things. And especially if video generation takes off, we still don't have like widespread video generation tools available. It's been advertised. I think Google also announced its new VO model, or DeepMind did, and I'm on the wait list. I just signed up. But once that takes off, video generation, training these models is going to be very computationally intensive.
Yeah, and also just like as people use these models more for just like regular things, right? Like once we see like more agentic workflows, once we see more people just like integrate them into apps, just they get more popular. That's just going to like really increase the need of computing. I think maybe at some point we'll just start needing to use like a Dyson sphere to like all the energy that we need.
Yeah. So we're still a long ways away from there.
Not that far away
from the Dyson sphere.
You never know.
Maybe the exponential growth is closer than we think.
It is closer than you think. I mean, yeah, it's like, as they say, if you have like bacteria in a lake that's doubling every day,
yeah,
right?
You can't handle that many doublings,
right?
Doublings is a dangerous phenomenon.
And I mean, like the computing power is doubling every 2 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're gonna need it soon enough. Dyson sphere.
All right, let's start planning for the Dyson sphere then.
All right, sounds good. I know we're just about out of time, but anyways, all right, guys. If you have any like ideas on how we can avoid the Dyson sphere and just like make the models better, let us know. We'll work on it. So, all right, we'll see you in the next one.
Until next time.